Say hello, Noah. Say hi. You silly guy. Do you have an exciting day? Are you ready for story time?
No. Zoo.
Zoo time?
No.
All right. So, the first book we are going to read is called Jumanji.
No. No. Zoo.
You want to read the construction zoo first? Okay. The first book. Are you ready for this book?
Yes.
All right. We're going to read Construction Zoo. Okay?
Zoo.
It's a quiet morning at the zoo until some strange new creatures roll in. Giraffe, rhino, the monkeys, and the tigers don't know what to make of the trucks and bulldozers that have come tumbling into the zoo. It's construction time. Soon the animals discover that they're not so different from these noisy trucks after all. But what happens when the construction is over? Will the party be over too?
Zoo.
Okay. Up at the zoo, a quiet morning when suddenly, without any warning, what's this? Spinning, roaring, crashing,
Zoo.
digging, rolling, growling, and smashing.
Zoo.
Oh no. Animals everywhere wake and skitter to see what's set. The zoo a flitter. Big trucks roll round, hills and bends. But are they scary or are they friends?
Zoo.
Giraffe just craned his neck to see a yellow truck, tall as can be. Its head lifts up in the sky, the perfect height for Giraffe to say hi.
Hi.
Rhino wants to start a fight, then spots a truck, and what a sight. Look at its head, so sharp and tough. This bulldozer's made of sturdy stuff. The monkeys pace all worried antsy, but with one swoop, they're happy dancy.
Wow.
Boom, crash, everything falls. They're pretty fun, these wrecking balls. Curious elephant can't believe what this machine has up its sleeve. Its trunk can scoop into the ground. Its toot a mighty trumpet sound. Giant tortoise wanders close to scout a truck more loaded than most. The dump bumps slowly down the track, its heavy pile safe on its back. Two tiger brothers crouch and spy a cement mixer truck set up nearby. Its stripped back spins and rolls all day, just like the cubs' backs when they play. Tumbling down hills, digging with snouts, running and stretching and making wild shouts. Trucks and animals, 2 by 2, it's party time at Construction Zoo. Then, one afternoon, the sight gets slow. The trucks pack up and roll and go. It's quite now up to the zoo. The animals aren't sure what to do. But here comes Zookeeper, one bright ribbon, a pair of scissors, and a crowd of guests with him. A snip, a cheer, construction is done. And now the zoo is twice the fun.
Yeah.
Yay! All right. You enjoy that one?
Yes.
All right. Now it's time for Jumanji.
Zoo. Zeus.
Zeus. Okay. Now remember, Mother said, your father and I are bringing some guests by after the opera, so please keep the house neat. Quite so, added Father. Tucking his scarf inside his coat, Mother peered into the hall mirror and carefully pinned her hat in place, then knelt and kissed both children goodbye. When the front door closed, Judy and Peter giggled with delight. They took all the toys out of their toy chest and made a terrible mess, but their laughter slowly turned to silence, till finally Peter slouched into a chair. You know what? He said, I'm really bored. Me too, sighed Judy. Why don't we go outside and play? Peter agreed. So they set off across the street to the park. It was cold for November. The children could see their breath like steam. They rolled in the leaves, and when Judy tried to stuff some leaves down Peter's sweater, he jumped up and ran behind a tree. When his sister caught up with him, He was kneeling at the foot of the tree,
Zoo.
looking at a long, thin box. "What's that?" Judy asked. "It's a game," said Peter, handing her the box. "Jumanji," Judy read from the box. "A jungle adventure game." "Look," said Peter, pointing to a note taped to the bottom of the box. In a childlike handwriting were the words "Free game. Fun for some, but not for all. P.S. Read instructions carefully." "Want to take it home?" Judy asked. "Not really," said Peter. "I'm sure somebody left it here because it's so boring." "Oh, come on," protested Judy. "Let's give it a try. I'll race you home." And off she ran with Peter at her heels. At home, the children spread the game out on a card table, and it looked very much like the games they already had. There was a board that unfolded, revealing a path of colored squares. The squares had messages written on them. The path started in the deepest jungle and ended up in Jumanji, a city of golden buildings and towers. And Peter began to shake the dice and play with the other pieces that were in the box. "Put those down and listen," said Judy. "I'm going to read the instructions." Jumanji, a young people's jungle adventure especially designed for the bored and restless. A player selects piece and places it in deepest jungle. B. Player rolls dice and moves piece along path through the dangers of the jungle. C. First player to reach Jumanji and yell the city's name out loud is the winner. "Is that all?" asked Peter, sounding disappointed. "No," said Judy. "There's one more thing, and this is in capital letters. D. Very important. Once a game of Jumanji is started, it will not be over until one player reaches the Golden City."
D.
Yeah. "Oh, big deal," said Peter, who gave a bored yawn. "Here," said Judy, handing her brother the dice. "You go first." Peter casually dropped the dice from his hand. "7," said Judy. "Yeah, you're 7 years old. Good job." And Peter moved his piece to the 7th square, and "Lion attacks." "Move back 2 spaces," read Judy. "Gosh, how exciting," said Peter in a very unexcited voice. As he reached for his piece, he looked up at his sister, and she had a look of absolute horror on her face. "Peter," she whispered, "turn around very, very slowly." And the boy turned in his chair, and he couldn't believe his eyes. Lying on the piano was a lion, staring at Peter and licking his lips. The lion roared so loud it knocked Peter right off his chair. And the big cat jumped to the floor, and Peter was up on his feet, running through the house with the lion a whisker's length behind. He ran upstairs and dove under a bed. The lion tried to squeeze under, but got his head stuck. And Peter scrambled out and ran from the bedroom and slammed the door behind him. And he stood in the hall with Judy, gasping for breath. "I don't think," said Peter in between gasps of air, "that I want to play this game anymore." "But we have to," said Judy, as she helped Peter back downstairs. "I'm sure that's what the instructions mean. That lion won't go away until one of us wins the game." Peter stood next to the card table. "Can't we just call the zoo and have him taken away?" From upstairs came the sounds of growling and clawing in the bedroom door. "Or maybe we could wait till Father comes home." "No one would come home from the zoo because they wouldn't believe us," said Judy. "And you know how upset Mother would be if there was a lion in the bedroom. So we started this game, and now we have to finish it." And Peter looked down at the game board. What if Judy rolled a 7? Then there'd be 2 lions. For an instant, Peter thought he was going to cry. Then he sat firmly in his chair and said, "Let's play." So Judy picked up the dice and rolled an 8 and moved her piece. "Monkeys steal food. Miss one turn," she read. From the kitchen came sounds of banging pots and falling jars, and the children ran in to see a dozen monkeys tearing the room apart. "Oh boy," said Peter, "this would upset Mother even more than the lion." "Quick," said Judy, "back to the game." So Peter took his turn. Thank heavens, he landed on a blank space, and he rolled again. "Monsoon season begins. Lose one turn," and little raindrops began to fall in the living room. Then a roll of thunder shook the walls and scared the monkeys out of the kitchen. The rain began to fall in buckets as Judy took the dice. Guide gets lost. Lose one turn. The rain suddenly stopped. The children turned to see a man hunched over a map. Oh dear, I say. Spot of bad luck now, he mumbled. Perhaps a left turn here then. No, a right turn here. Yes, absolutely. I think a right turn, or maybe, excuse me, said Judy.
No, yes.
But the guy just ignored her. Around here. Then over. No, over here. And around this. Yes, good. But then, And Judy shrugged her shoulders and handed the dice to Peter. 4, 5, 6, he counted. Bitten by cystis fly. Contract sleeping sickness. Lose one turn. Judy heard a faint buzzing noise and watched a small insect land on Peter's nose. And Peter lifted his hand to brush the bug away, but then stopped, gave a tremendous yawn, and fell sound asleep, his head on the table. Peter, wake up, cried Judy. But it was no use. She grabbed the dice and moved to a blank. And she rolled again and had waited in amazement. A rhinoceros stampede, go back 2 spaces. As fast as he had fallen asleep, Peter awoke, and together they listened to a rumble in the hallway, and it grew louder and louder, and suddenly a herd of rhinos charged through the living room and into the dining room, crushing all the furniture in their path. Peter and Judy covered their ears as sounds of splintering wood and breaking china filled the house. Peter gave the dice a quick tumble. Python sneaks into a camp and go back 1 space. And Judy shrieked and jumped up on a chair. Over the fireplace, said Peter. Judy sat down again, nervously eyeing the 8-foot snake that was wrapping itself around the mantel clock. The guy looked up from his map, took one look at the snake, and moved to the far corner of the room, joining the monkeys on the couch. And Judy took her turn and landed on a blank space. Her brother took the dice and rolled a 3. Oh no, he moaned. A volcano erupts. Go back 3 spaces. And the room became warm and started to shake a little. A molten lava poured from the fireplace opening. It hit the water on the floor and the room filled with steam. And Judy rolled the dice and moved ahead. Discover shortcut. Roll again. Oh dear, she cried. And Judy saw the snake unwrapping himself from the clock. If you roll a 12, you can get out of the jungle, said Peter. Please, Judy begged. As she shook the dice, the snake was wiggling his way to the floor. And she dropped the dice from her hand, 1, 6, then another. And Judy grabbed her piece and slammed it to the board. Jumanji! She yelled as loud as she could. And the steam in the room became thicker and thicker, and Judy could not even see Peter across the table. Then, as if all the doors and windows have been opened, a cool breeze cleared the steam from the room. Everything was just as it had been before the game. No monkeys, no guide, no water, no broken furniture, no snake, no lion roaring upstairs, and no rhinos. Without saying a word to each other, Peter and Judy threw the game into its box. And they bolted out of the door, ran across the street to the park, and dropped the game under a tree. And back home, they quickly put all their toys away. But both children were too excited to sit quietly. So Peter took out a picture puzzle. As they fit the pieces together, the excitement slowly turned to relief and then exhaustion. With the puzzle half done, Peter and Judy fell sound asleep on her sofa. Wake up, dears, Mother's voice called. Judy opened her eyes, and Mother and Father had returned. Their guests were arriving. Judy gave Peter a nudge to wake him, yawning and stretching, and they got to their feet. Mother introduced them to some of the guests, then asked, "Did you have an exciting afternoon?" "Oh, yes," said Peter. "We had a flood, a stampede, a volcano. I got sleeping sickness," and Peter was interrupted by the adults' laughter. "Well," said Mother, "I think you both got sleeping sickness. Why don't you go upstairs and put your pajamas on? Then you can finish your puzzle and have some dinner." When Peter and Judy came back downstairs, they found that Father had moved the puzzle into the den. While the children were working on it, one of the guests, Miss Budwig, brought them a tray of food. Such a hard puzzle, she said to the children, and Daniel and Walter are always starting puzzles and never finishing them. Daniel and Walter were Mrs. Budwig's sons, and they never read instructions either. Oh well, said Mrs. Budwig, turning to rejoin the guests. I guess they'll learn. Both children answered, I hope so. But they weren't looking at Miss Budwig, and they were looking out the window, and two boys were running through the park. They were Danny and Walter Budwig, and Danny had a long, thin box under his arm. Uh-oh, and they were going to play Jumanji. Did you enjoy that story?
Yeah.
Can you say Jumanji? Jumanji.
Yeah.
Scream Jumanji as loud as you can.
That.
Say Jumanji.
Bus.
Yes. Good night, everybody.
No.
Hope you enjoyed this story.
Bus.
And no one wants to take the bus to Jumanji Land?
Zoo.
To Zooland? All right, sounds fun. Are you ready to pray?
Yes.
What do you want to pray for?
Zoo.
And what else?
Zoo.
And what else?
Bus.
And what else?
Zoo.
And what else?
Bus.
And what else? And what else?
Dada.
And who else? You silly guy. La la.
Bus.
You want to sing a song?
Dada.
Come on. What?
Poo poo poo.